What's up, world? Welcome to a new episode of the BrandonJaneauShow. As you know, I am Brandon Janeau, and you catch me on all audio platforms, all podcast platforms. BrandonJaneauShow. Sometimes you gotta space it, sometimes it's together. Shout out to everybody that's also following me on Instagram, TikTok. Appreciate you guys. Facebook as well. BrandonJaneauShow, all on those three platforms. I also have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. I just got it back and I don't really use it, so don't worry about it. But if you want to follow me, I guess BJaneau31 on Twitter. But more importantly, man, just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brandon Janeau Show. Hope you guys enjoy. Uh, all the new episodes coming out. I got so many more, man. I'm closing on 300 episodes of this podcast, so that's already just a crazy feeling to hear 300 episodes. It's freaking crazy. And I hope you guys enjoy. Tonight's episode is gonna be wrestling life. A lot of news has been going on. I've been like doing wrestling life the last couple of times I've been on this goddamn podcast. So, um, let's get to it. Let's get into it. Um, so last night, Triple H announced that there will be a WWE draft in the near future, a couple of weeks, and of course, what happened Monday, a lot of people are very skeptical about what particularly this draft is going to be. Now, WWE is selling the octaves of Triple H is still being in creative control. Monday they had it on his fucking thing when he came out. WWE content creator, chief content creator, Triple H, and then Raw went straight down the fucking drain. And then Friday night, last night on SmackDown, they had WWE Hall of Famer, but Michael Cole said the man, the Hall of Famer Triple H, but the man that is actually running WWE. And here's my thing, man. I've made a bunch of episodes since this happened, and I'm getting to the point where I don't fucking know. I truly believe if Vince wanted to run creative, he would run creative, and there's nothing Triple H can do about it. And that's why I'm on. I think if Vince really wanted to run creative, Vince would run creative, and that's just the way it looks because he did it Monday. He didn't have to run creative; he wanted to. And if that is the case, you're creating such a animosity between what these athletes, these superstars, these wrestlers have found a comfortability with, and that's Triple H for the last 9 months, to now going back into the status quo where Vince literally didn't know how to run their creative uh, characters. He would literally scrap shit in the middle of the show. That's not how you run a fucking live TV show. You don't scrap the shit middle of the motherfucking show. It just doesn't make sense. And I can understand why so many people, including myself as a fan, we're very skeptical because Vince they have lied. WWE has lied to us for the last couple of months since Vince McMahon's been back in the picture. Now, do I think Vince really left when he was retired? I do. I think Vince really was gone. I don't think he really was back until he made the announcement that Stephanie stepped down and Vince took over again. That's when I really think he jumped back in. Now, like I said, do I think Vince is back being creative, being in the creative control? I don't know, and that's where a fandom of mine for WWE is scared because it's just like I've seen what this product was for the last couple of years before he took the retirement. We gotta say it like that. Before he took the retirement, he didn't his vacation pretty much. Um, but I feel like a lot of people, we don't know. And my thing is this: a lot of people said we were gonna watch Friday night to see if that. I even I think I said that, but Vince has never really gave a fuck about Friday night. Like Friday night SmackDown, so you don't give a fuck about SmackDown. SmackDown, even with Vince was running creative control, you can tell SmackDown was just different than Raw. SmackDown's always been different than Raw because Vince don't give a fuck about SmackDown. He never cares about SmackDown. He don't give a shit about SmackDown. He don't be on it. He don't be there Friday nights. I'm pretty sure of it. He don't give a fuck about SmackDown. Now, what we need to realize is Monday night. Now, I didn't really hear a lot of matches being projected for Monday night or pretty much said. I mean, the only match I think they've really made is two matches: Miz versus Matt Riddle, and the women's tag team championship match, which is Lita and Becky versus Liv and Raquel. So that's literally two matches that Raw has only really promoted. So I don't think Raw really. That might be a telltale sign. I don't think he cares too much about SmackDown because SmackDown's a 2 hour show. But also Vince, Raw is his flagship show. Raw is the show that he pretty much put his heart and soul into. That is the show he's always going to care more about. If you don't believe me, remember when they first did the split of the WWE draft, and they really did have the split draft, and it was Raw versus SmackDown. It literally was that. Raw had Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. SmackDown had Chris Jericho. They made a trade. Paul Heyman says this perfectly. He talks about the SmackDown Six and how it became. He said we had Chris Jericho. He was in a feud with Edge when we first got him, and then Raw was like, "Oh, we want Chris Jericho," and they was gonna take Chris Jericho, and Paul Heyman went into the writers' room and everything, and he said, wait a minute, you're not gonna just take Chris Jericho and we get nothing in return. That's fucked up." So Vince and them was like, okay, so who you want? And he was like, they think I'm about to ask for like a big name, like Triple H or Stone Cold or some shit like that. And he was like, give me Eddie Guerrero and give me Chris Benoit. And he literally said the room looked at him and laughed, like they thought that that was the dumbest trade ever. They thought that getting Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero for just Chris Jericho. Like you could have them, and that's what they said because he was at the time. This is when NWO was on WWE, and they were doing the same shit they did in WCW, beating down the cruiserweights and the mid card and shit like that. So Paul Heyman says, so I ended up getting Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and they got Chris Jericho, and he said that's when I created the SmackDown Six around the Guerreros, Eddie, Chavo, Edge and Rey Mysterio, and then of course Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. So you hear him say this. SmackDown's never been a priority for Vince. He never gave a fuck about SmackDown. SmackDown, and that's why I felt like last night it wasn't gonna be. The only thing I was waiting for was the beginning. If the match actually lived up and really did what it was supposed to do, that's exactly what happened. And you know, it does. You can't go wrong with the Brawling Brutes and Imperium, but particularly how the match was gonna actually start and how the fuck it was gonna go, because you could tell by Vince show, it probably would have not ran over, and it probably would have been like 10 minutes. It would have been like 10 minutes. What that match had, it's perfect long running time. They let them fight, and that is a beautiful thing. Because you can't have a 6 man match and it goes 10 minutes. The fuck is that? But Vince never gave a fuck about SmackDown, and I don't think SmackDown was the telling sign of if Vince is in control. Let's see Monday night, and that's how I feel. Let's see Monday night. Let's see how that looks, and if Vince is back in control, we will see immediately because there'll be more promos. There'll be a lot more shit being done. Nothing really being like it'll be a lot of shit being done, but nothing leading to anything. So we shall see Monday. Um, which brings us to the draft. The draft Triple H announced, and says in a couple of weeks. Um, I'm excited and I'm not because this is something that should have been done. I'm shocked they didn't announce it after WrestleMania. But they announced it, I guess, a couple days after WrestleMania, but they still announced it. I'm happy it wasn't like the old Vince shit. It's time to shake things up again. It's not like, come on, bro. Just what Triple H said was pretty interesting. And a lot of people can read it how they want to read it, take it how they want to take it. He literally said, everybody's up for grabs. Everybody could get traded. I mean, drafted, larger. Everybody can get drafted. Uh, and nobody is safe, pretty much in the draft. That's pretty interesting to say. But also he said when this draft is over and done, it will be a game changer. Oh, it's gonna change the game, some shit like that. Um, how do I feel about that? If Triple H really in control, and this is another thing people that are really picking up on. The last couple of drafts have been kind of USA versus Fox. So for him to say everything's up for grabs, it kind of tells me that this isn't going to be the network execs want this person on here because that makes sense. It sounds like no motherfucker, you're gonna get drafted like somewhere that you don't expect. So that must mean, and this is how crazy this is because we could literally see Austin Theory get drafted to SmackDown and Gunther get drafted to Raw, which sounds crazy, but if it goes that way, I wouldn't mind seeing the IC Championship on Raw. I grew up with the Intercontinental Championship on Raw and the US title on SmackDown, so I wouldn't mind seeing it. Now that might be a Triple H, that might be a Vince pull where he's just like, no, that ain't gonna happen because he wants Austin Theory on Raw, particularly, and I don't think Gunter will want to go to Raw if Vince is running Raw, and that's the thing. So I think they keep Gunter in their respective places. I think Seki get drafted to. I think Seki get drafted to. Yeah, I think Seki get drafted. I think Seki get drafted to SmackDown. Um, Man, I don't know. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. That's gonna be tricky. That's gonna be tricky. But what I really am looking forward to seeing is how they're gonna split up the undisputed titles. I want to know how they're gonna split up the undisputed titles because that is the key point. You got Roman with the title, with two titles, and then you got Sammy and Kevin with both titles. So how are you gonna split this up? Because that is the key. That is really the draft. That is the key point. Yeah, the bloodline storyline and the Judgment Day and shit like that. But more importantly, how are you going to split up those titles? Because if Roman is particularly on SmackDown, how the fuck is Raw gonna get a chance to get a title? Because you can't have two titles on one person. If you're having a draft, if you're having a split brand, Roman can't have both titles, and Kevin and Sammy can't have both titles. So if that is the case, I can see WWE finally splitting the titles. That's merely where I'm at with it. That's what I wanted to draft for. I think it's just time to split the titles, and that's it. I think it's just time to split the titles, get rid of them, and let's see how it goes. I really, 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 really believe that. Um, Another thing, people keep saying Cody Rhodes might be getting buried now because of this. And again, it's not. I don't know who's creatively thinking this was a smart idea to let Cody lose at WrestleMania. Listen, people can have whatever the fuck they want to. Excuse me. People can say whatever they want to say about Cody and Roman. The reason why I felt like Cody made a better choice to win that match last Sunday is because the storylines. It made fucking sense. You are only keeping the titles on Roman to get him to 1,000 days. After he gets to 1,000 days, what was the point of having the titles for that fucking long? I think they should have put Cody over. It's the dumbest thing for anybody to say and tell me. Well, the Bloodline storyline is great. Roman isn't even there. Last night the storyline was great because it was Jay Solo, Paul, Sammy, Kevin. Okay, well Sammy and Kevin fade the fuck off and go do their shit. What's the storyline? This is what I keep saying. What's the storyline? And it's like, dude, I don't think people really understand. Like, that was a dumb fucking decision. That is a stupid decision. I don't care how many times people gonna sit here and say Roman should have kept the titles, Cody need adversity. You should have pulled the trigger because depending on how long you take to get him the titles, either be at SummerSlam or next year at WrestleMania, which I don't think is going to be a next year WrestleMania because if you're going to pull The Rock out of nowhere, again, why does Roman have the titles? Rock is going to beat Roman Reigns for the fucking titles? Come on, bro. Especially if you split the titles by that time, which it sounds like you're going to. And maybe that is the reason why you didn't let Cody win. It's because you're going to split the titles. Maybe Roman does give up the WWE Championship and let Cody take it because now you have a draft and you need a champion on Raw. So clearly, you're going to split the titles up. But we shall see. All in all, man, it's WWE. I don't fucking know what's gonna happen. I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. But I will say this, man. I'm going to the show July 31st here. Trying to make it an annual thing. I can't wait when SmackDown comes here. I want to go see SmackDown. I don't really want to fuck with Raw. Raw's 3 hours. That's a long fucking time. But yeah. Till then, man. It's been Brandon Janeau. It's Wrestling Life. Peace.